Guten Tag. In this video I want to show you how a small stupid mistake when scoring a bread dough can make all the difference between poor and massive oven spring. Interestingly, who would have guessed that ultimately baguettes would give me the final clue to what I was doing wrong? It turned out that this mistake isn't that obvious, and many resources online give you the wrong information. Anyways, I will show you how to avoid this. And after watching this video, you'll have a much better understanding of bread making. What's scoring? Scoring is the part where you give your bread dough a small incision before the bake. If you do everything right, you will get nice oven spring. You will have a beautiful ear on your bread dough. This ear is the holy grail of bread making. The ear just shows that you have nailed every single piece of the whole process. The ear is a little bit smaller. It becomes darker and more crisp while baking. When then eating a slice, you'll have all the different colors. Each color of your crust gives you a different taste. If you had that ear, you never want to go back. It's just flavor explosion in your mouth. The problem with scoring is that it happens at the end of the process, and you only have one chance to get it right. You can't rescore a dough. This means you have to nail it. To score your bread, you can use a knife. Make sure that it's a very, very sharp knife. There are also specialized tools such as a lame. I think lame is the proper name. But probably the best way is to simply get yourself a razor blade. You can get yourself a fancy handle for your razor blade. So this is one of the fancy tools, for instance. And all you do is you put your razor blade right inside. But I really think the best tool that you can use is just a plain razor blade. Be careful though, because it's relatively sharp. Now, I've been baking bread for a few years, but occasionally sometimes I wouldn't get that oven spring. And for a baker, that's a very, very sad moment. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. You spend so much time making the perfect dough and then your bread just turns out flat. It's really sad. Now, poor oven spring can be due to a variety of reasons. Too much water for your flour, you fermented too short, you fermented too long, you baked too hot, you baked too cold, you didn't have enough steam. There are so many issues. In fact, around 1 year ago, I made a video where I showed you how around 20 degrees in difference can be all the difference between massive oven spring and poor oven spring. Just by lowering the temperature a bit for me, I started to get much better bread. Anyways, the scoring part isn't so easy. And I think it's a major factor that you need to get right. And shame on me, after rewatching my old masterclass on sourdough bread. Even I'm not explaining it properly. But hopefully this time we're gonna get it right. The problem became really apparent when I was trying to make baguettes. Baguettes are not too easy because you have to practice the shaping technique, and loading them inside of the oven is a little bit of a pain. Now, if you figure that out, you still have to score them, and I personally think this is the most challenging part when making baguettes. The perfect baguettes should open up really nicely in the oven and have several beautiful ears. Then you have a soft, fluffy crumb paired with that slight crispness. It's perfect. Unfortunately though, mine didn't open up, and this is where it gets really interesting. The engineer in me wanted to debug this. And to begin, I thought, okay, it might be the fermentation. The fermentation is typically where most beginners make mistakes. Fermentation times always change depending on your ambient temperature. If you just feed your sourdough starter slightly different, if you use more or less yeast, it's crazy. To simplify everything, I resorted to drastic measures and started to use just plain yeast. Sourdough is a little bit more complicated. Okay, actually not a little, a lot more complicated. But then after a few attempts, I still couldn't get my baguettes to open up properly. What was I doing wrong? It either had to be a steam issue, temperature issue, or maybe a scoring issue. Now my friend Sebastian lives in Ghana. Hi. He's also one of the pandemic bakers, and he's really making excellent baguettes. And just the other day he sent me a picture, and his baguettes open up so much more than my baguettes did. Still, they didn't have that perfect ear yet. If you don't mind the ear, I think they open up 10 times better than mine did. So what was I doing wrong? Now the video that Sebastian used is Patrick Ryan's Baguette Masterclass. And it's a really excellent video that I recommend you to check out. Let's have a look at the video real quick. Patrick is such a good instructor for making bread. I could watch his videos for hours, and this one is just on making the perfect baguette.
You can't think of French bread or artisan breads without thinking of baguettes.
So true.
So we're going to show you how easy it is to make. So now this recipe is a little bit different. It does take...
He's making excellent baguettes. But now let's fast forward. Please do check out the full video here. I think first of all, this I just want to show you quick. This to me has always been so hard, loading the baguettes into the oven. What I recommend you to do is just get a little bit of cardboard, and that's just gonna make everything so simple, because at the end your dough is very, very extensible and it just becomes a gigantic sausage. Well, we Germans love sausages, but it's nothing you want for making baguettes. And now let's check out the scoring.
The oven is we need to score them. Again, a lot of people when they're
Fancy scoring knife here.
kind of scoring baguettes, because of the way it looks as it's finished, their tendency is to cut straight across the dough. What we're looking for is almost straight lines. Each one just offsets the next. It's going to look like an ear of wheat. And then the next one starts just behind. Basically aim to do a straight line, because you won't do it.
So he's cutting at almost no angle at all. And let me show you what happens in the end with the baguettes.
Lovely and light, beautiful and crisp.
They open up a little bit, but you don't have that pronounced ear on the baguettes.
Beautiful and crisp, lovely rustic baguettes. And you can actually hear them sing. Just as they come out of the oven. You hear them crack, you hear them break.
When you get that you can listen to your bread afterwards when taking it out of the oven, it's so satisfying. So yeah, definitely a great video by Patrick Ryan. Please do check that out. I'm going to be linking it in the description. I think the baguettes look really nice, but still I think that ear could be slightly improved. Maybe I'm a big perfectionist, but I really wanted to get that ear. I wanted my bread to massively spring in the oven. Well, my baguettes. Are baguettes a bread? So let's dive into that just a little bit deeper, because this is a really, really, really good lesson. And it's so not obvious. Scoring baguettes to me is really the hardest part. Your dough isn't cold, it's at room temperature. And scoring a dough at room temperature is quite hard. You're gonna tear that dough. So I researched more and I found 2 additional great videos. The first one is a classical video just focusing on baguette scoring. This video here is so awesome. It's a video for around 3 minutes just focusing on how you should score the perfect baguette.
Hi, welcome back to the Bread Lab. Today we're going to be
Hi Mac.
showing you some techniques for scoring baguettes.
Did he just say the bread lab? That sounds like exactly the place where I want to work at. So then what Mac does is Mac is marking the baguettes with different lines, and he shows you in the end how the baguettes open up depending on how you scored them. I think it's a super eye-opening video. And let's check how Mac here is scoring them.
For expansion at this point, all the way down, across the bread. Okay, that leaves no room for expansion at these points as well. By cutting straight, essentially straight down that bread, that's breaking it in right down the middle, allowing it to expand the.
So I was trying the technique that Mac has shown me, but unfortunately it became a little bit better, but still not in a way that I was super happy with the final baguettes that I was making. Regardless, I think it's a super useful video that I'm going to be linking in the description of the video. Okay, a swift movement with the hand. Holding your hand a little bit at an angle. I tried that, but I couldn't really get it to work. Maybe I just need to practice on a few more thousand baguettes. Now I'm just a home baker, so for me that's really hard. But then I saw another video which would give me the final clue. It's a video by Carl in the Sourdough Library. Let's have a look at it, and then it finally made click. Seriously, this video that I'm about to show you has been so eye-opening for me. So let's check this out.
Vincent.
Hello.
Is
Bonjour.
one of our bakers, and he's from France. So Vincent, I invite
Vincent knows his stuff, I can guarantee you that.
you to slice the rest of the baguettes to make them perfect.
Yes, please.
Okay. You hold the knife like this, not like that. Okay.
Okay. Wow, it goes through like butter.
We have now the 6 baguettes, 2 with 7 cuts, 2 with 5.
Show me the baguettes, please. There we are.
Voila, so you
This is exactly the kind of baguette that I want to be making at some point. This is perfect.
the difference between 7, 5 that you draw on the baguette. Make sure that you overlap 1/3 the cuts, that you have to cut uneven, 3, 5 or 7 depending on the length of the baguette. And as Vincent told us, it's very important
Okay, listen to this now.
to keep your knife as horizontal as possible so that you cut underneath the surface of the baguette so that the shred can break open and not just spread open. So do not cut like this. Make sure the blade is very sharp.
So, and I think this to me has been the biggest game-changing tip. Super cool video. I'm gonna be linking it in the description as well. Thank you so much, Carl. And Vincent, of course. The most important tip is you have to flay your dough at a horizontal angle. At a horizontal angle, really? Let's have a look at my original sourdough masterclass. What was I saying? Now we have to be a little bit quick. I'm doing that 45 degrees incision because I want to have a nice ear in the end. I was saying you have to score at around a 45-degree angle. Now horizontal does not equal 45 degrees if my math is correct. And all the other sources you find on the interwebs typically suggest you to score at a 45-degree angle. And that's always what I've been doing. But it turned out that this is wrong. Well, it's not wrong, but it's also not fully true either. So was I really scoring at a 45-degree angle? Nope, I was not. It turns out I was actually scoring at a 90-degree angle. And you wouldn't believe how stupid I was. It's kind of really obvious now that I think about it. Now if you're scoring your bread dough at the center, directly in the middle, then scoring at a 45-degree angle is kind of obvious. Okay, I'm really bad at making angles, but this sort of is the angle that you want. But then again, most recipes don't call for scoring directly to the center. They call for scoring slightly off, 1 centimeter to the right, which I guess is half an inch. Now at 1 centimeter to the right, a 45-degree angle is no longer a 45-degree angle. Let's quickly head to my whiteboard. I need to visualize this for you, and then it's going to become obvious. So the important thing here to learn is how you score. This is a 90-degree angle, and this is a 45-degree angle. And everybody will always tell you to score at a 45-degree angle. Now, your bread dough is probably looking like this. So if you're scoring here, then your angle is going to be 90 degrees. From the top, it looks like 45 degrees. So in that case, you really have to go a lot further down. This would be a 45-degree angle the way you have to score it here. So your razor blade would almost be horizontal to the dough. And this is a really, really important lesson. So at 1 centimeter off to the right, I'm not scoring anymore at a 45-degree angle. I'm more scoring at a 90-degree angle. That's because your dough is round. In this case, you almost have to hold your razor blade horizontal, just like what Carl said. Play at a horizontal angle. And yes, that worked out beautifully. I scored the dough at around half a centimeter in depth. As far as I can tell, the more puffy your dough is, the less deep you want to score it. If you have a relatively stiff dough, you want to score it a little bit deeper. At a stiff dough, I would be scoring for around 1 centimeter deep. With a more puffy, highly hydrated dough, not as deep, just half a centimeter. That's gonna make a little bit of a difference in terms of how much your bread is gonna open up to the sides. But scoring at an angle, that's gonna make all the difference. Then I reverted back to my baguettes. And suddenly I started to see a little bit of an ear. It's still not perfect yet, but I think I'm getting there. Awesome and slightly crazy, right? Just by adjusting the angle at which you're scoring your dough, you will get more oven spring and you will finally get that ear to pop. Seriously, I wish all of this was written down somewhere with explanations so I wouldn't have to debug this on my own. Another really good closing tip that I want to give you is that after mixing the ingredients, make a nice round smooth dough ball and just start scoring that dough ball like crazy. You can test a lot. Pay close attention to what a 45 and what a 90-degree angle is. Practice this. It's at room temperature, so it's even hotter. To me, this helped a lot to get better at scoring. Do you have additional comments on scoring? Please drop them in the comment section and show me some love. Actually, not loaf, but you know I'm a baker, so loaf. If you're not on our Discord server yet, please make sure to join. It's an awesome community of like-minded bakers and it's completely free. I'm gonna be sharing the link in the description of the video. Thank you very much. Bye. Why am I always making those stupid jokes that nobody finds funny? I'm strange.